Do you have any work handy if we want to talk about it later?
The hands, it would be a bit odd if I'll be my hands touching those hands. I think that would just be weird. And one hand was a right-handed hand cupping a shoot of a plant, and the other hand was pointing, so it was a signifier, whereas this one was holding. And so the feminine posture of the hand was the cupping, and the masculine was the more pointy, the pointed finger one. But because left hand and right hand, it's the same person, it's not one separate from the other. They complement each other. Being a hybrid, perhaps like you are, coming from two different cultures, and it's sort of one or the other, and it's like, but I experience both at the same time simultaneously, so I don't get that.
I looked at your blog. I really like the flower, the title of the flower.
You look a mess when you open up. The tulips, they come out in springtime, and I just saw them, and when they first grow, they're a tight bud, and then they slowly open. And they also open to the sun, and then they close at night time when they're young. But as they get older, they sort of just, that ability to close up becomes, they stop doing that really. And they sort of remain open, and then more open and more open. And it's just that idea, when I saw them basking in the sun, and how beautiful they are, but then more they open, they sort of become really messy. And I thought that was quite funny really. That opening up can be messy, it can be uncomfortable.
Staying open is healthier.
And also it's that connection. You can't create intimacy, or you can't create connection with something if it stays closed. Everyone is sort of messy inside, and it's embracing that imperfection. When I take photos, I'm trying not to take a pretty picture, because there are loads of those when you search the internet. And the trouble is with a pretty picture, or a picture that's too well composed, is that it's difficult to provoke thought. And so when I'm taking photos of flowers or anything, it's not a pretty picture, so they're not perhaps easy to look at. It's not quite easy to tell why I've taken it.
I think beauty is not easy to look at. Maybe if it looks good, it's balanced, and there's a harmony to it, which is pleasant. But there is something, I think, when it's truly beautiful, there might need to be some discomfort there.
It's too much for the human mind to accept.
With your pictures, often with the one of the trees and the leaves of the trees that you organised in a pretty pattern, and with some others, there's the apples, and you talk about abundance and the idea of nature and abundance going together, and having its own order. But the order of your leaves was pretty too.
But sometimes in my work it's a clash between our human endeavours and then nature's agenda, which often don't align. And with the leaves thing, it was just so funny, the way that we love ordering everything. And a lot of the traditional conceptions of beauty are about order and symmetry and harmony. And so these leaves, having to sort of showing the tree how to do it properly, and how to drop your leaves in an aesthetically pleasing way, in an ordered way, and rather than just any old how. And it just highlights how absurd that human endeavour is, really, to try and order things that can't really be ordered, and also to fix things, about creating permanent things, structures, is also, it's very unnatural.
I'm using in my paintings a symbol that I think the original inspiration might have come from your work, even though I didn't notice it until later, and it's the Kali's tongue sticking out. When we went together to that exhibition at the British Museum, and I saw the links between Kali sticking out her tongue, and the use of that in Western society is a rebellious symbol because of the Rolling Stones. I thought, this has been sitting in my subconscious since I saw your sculpture.
Well, the actual Hindu image of Kali is such a strong, provocative image of her tongue sticking out. And I remember when I first saw it as a kid, and you were like, what on earth is going on? When I was doing that piece, it was the idea of the way that Hindus think that these gods are real, as in they could be embodied, and just what that would look like in now, the way that we use images now and take photographs. And I thought of her open mouth, because when she's got that pose, she's with her husband, she's actually standing on Shiva, and so you have male and female, so there's a really strong union going on there. What about your text-based work?
An idea that caught my attention years ago that I'm not literally aiming for, because I am not on that particular path, but is the idea of abstract calligraphy to help enlightenment, to reach enlightenment through abstract calligraphy in Zen Buddhism. And there's an element of trying to write something and draw something at the same time. They capture the state of mind of that day, but I can't do two. The second one comes out tame. That links to my old work, and hopefully I will bring it together with my current painting at some stage.
I think mark making, I don't do any mark making so much in my work, but I think it's really important. Handwriting really fascinates me. So that's essentially what I'm doing, collecting these handwriting examples, and then everyone's writing the same thing and then contrasting it with the typed sentences, just a page of just type. Again, it's that thing about order against this sort of handwritten scrawly that might look a bit messy or untidy, and just seeing if there is an emotional reaction in that way.
I am very challenged by the idea of painting emotion. I want to paint have a wall of many different angry women, because I want to see how it feels like. And I really like that, and I use face reading to make them angrier and to use the bits of anger that I want to keep, the powerful ones. When I don't know what I'm doing, it's when I'm really interested in the painting. When I work on something that is just some images put together and I don't really know what I'm conveying, and I don't really know why, and I can't put words on it, and those are the most powerful ones, in my opinion.
I get a very strong idea, and I know I need to execute it, but I do know why I'm doing it. I do know the message very strongly, what I want to convey, but it's trying to convey I remember someone saying, tell the truth, but tell it slant. And it's just like a poem does. You can take a literal meaning, but then there's a symbolic meaning about it, and it's trying to get those layers in of literal meaning and symbolic meaning and spiritual meaning. The game for me, I suppose, is whether the audience gets it and what they get.
That's what I love about your work, the humour.
When I'm making work, I'm very, very serious.
But it comes across in a very funny way.
Yeah.
To me, that's the strength of your work, is that combination of seriousness and humour.
I don't want to be preaching to other people.
I think that comes across, and also the poetry in their use of language and their actual choice of images themselves. It's a very poetic feeling, because I find that a lot of the things that you talk about in your artwork stays with me for years, and they come back. It's like the teachings of a philosopher, and I really like that feeling also in your work.
That commonality in all of us, what's common in us, and we are so similar.